Hello and welcome back for your daily dose of LOL Esports content, where I'm going to cover all four major regions, games that took place today, and then preview tomorrow's series in the LPL and the final day of LEC winter regular season. Predictions went 8-6 on the day, and 60-33 on the year thus far. First, we had Thunder Talk and Weibo, a series that Thunder Talk had in their grasp and threw it away. Game one, they had a 3K gold lead at the end of 15-minute laning phase. The bot lane 30 CS ahead of Light and Crisp. However, as the game went along, Light came online on the Aphelios. UCal's lead that he built up on the Orianna in game one just got thrown away. And that happened again in game two as he had an early level 1 kill also. And at 15 minutes, Weibo already had gained a gold lead. Zhao Hao ends up being MVP, playing Nocturne and then playing J4. Two facilitator champions, J4 obviously more so than Nocturne, both very effective for him. So, why did I start LPL first? I have LCK all the way to the left. Well, we're already committed. So, Weibo win 2-0, Zhao Hao MVP, Light 13-6-9, 35% of damage, Crisp 4-2-28. So the bot lane went 17-8 and 37. UCal 14-6-9, 29% of damage in the loss. Game 2, Hoya had a massive lead over ZDZ in the laning phase, had 31 CS, but couldn't do anything with it, in part because of how strong ZDZ ended up being on the Aatrox, outplaying a dive and getting gold to offset that 30 CS diffy, and affected team fights heavily as that game went along. Bechuan on the Nocturne making plays to keep Thunder Talk alive, but outside of that, they really didn't have much. UCal and Bechuan were definitely the two best players for Thunder Talk today, more than 1xN, Hoya, and Chow Chow. After that, we have Rare Atom JDG. I thought this would be a 2-1 for JDG. Figured they'd come out sloppy, and they did come out sloppy, but were able to recover. Rare Atom actually had a 1.7k gold lead in game one at 18 minutes. Flandre, no kills in this series in his return to the stage. Ruler MVP, 11-3-6, 39% of damage in the win. Yagao 7-3-11 in mid. Asum 7-4-5, 31% of damage in the loss. JDG's bot lane definitely pacing Rare Atom in the laning phase ahead. What do I have here? 36 CS in game one, and then game two I had 16 CS, so an average of a 26 CS lead. 22 CS lead for Kanavi over Nayu. And then in top lane, just to make matters a little more interesting, Zhaozhu had a lead over Flandre. Like I said, Flandre didn't end up with any kills. In the laning phase of game one, Rare Atom got out to an early lead by a great play from Vikla on the Talia, going bot side, getting a double kill for him and Asum. Nayu on the Xin Zhao also making some plays, but Kanavi on the Rel secured key team fights with Altis, and Ruler finished things off with the Lucian. In game two, JDG had the advantage, very active towards mid as Rare Atom tried to go bot. Asum on the Aphelios doing work in the early game, but then Yagao on the Azir, affecting things as the game went along. We had a lot of low kill games today by LPL standards, and then that DRX Brion series, I'm so happy that I'm not watching those at 4 in the morning anymore. I don't think I would have been able to watch it. But we'll talk about that. LNG OMG, LNG win 2-0. Weiwei was MVP. He was everywhere on the Vi. And then in game two, he was on the Poppy. Scout 12-8, 34% of damage in mid. Mark 4-1-25 in support. Abel. So game one, Starry was the starter, and they lost, clearly, 2-0 loss. Abel ended up dealing like 800 DPM in game two, so as game two is concerned, he went 2-2-2, 45% of damage on an Ezreal. he was really all OMG had in this one at all. Like, he's the only player I actually wrote down on my board. Game 1, LNG were had 3.8k gold lead at the end of laning phase at 15 minutes. Double-digit CS leads in top and jungle. Zika really getting after Cube. Cube was gapped 15 and 17 in both games. Game 2 was closer, under 500 CS diff, in part because Zhao Feng was able to get a CS lead over Wei Wei, and the bot lane, like I said, of OMG, came through in the laning phase. So what? We have Wei Wei, Mark, and Scout in game 1, and then in game 2 it was Wei Wei, Scout, and Zika. So Zika on the Rumble in game 2, like I said, got ahead of Cube, and then really took it to OMG's team in team fights. You know, there was a to say there was a diffy would be not fair to Zika and what he did. Cube just really, like, even Zika, I think, got around the rift, if I recall correctly, and still had a significant difference. And it's simply put, though, because Wei Wei being MVP, Zhao Feng could not keep up with Wei Wei at all. Wei Wei was everywhere. Recovering after his Thunder Talk loss that had us questioning, is this the replacement for Tarzan? And, of course, going into the year, I thought that he wasn't, but at the same time, you do have to give him more than one series to really set that in motion. LCK, DRX Brion. So this was a toilet bowl, 3-game series. DRX win 2-1. Teddy was MVP, going 11-1-8, 33% of damage. Play to 1-2-21 at support. So the bot lane 12-3, 29 combined. NV 437, 29% of damage in the loss. We had a Brion special for game 2. Game 1, there was a significant CS diff in top lane of 20. Gideon on the Maokai, very active as far as Brion is considered. Morgan on the Yone, affecting things significantly in team fights, and I thought they were the difference makers. Now, game 2, there was a 2.3k gold lead for Brion at the end of laning phase, but this was a 6-kill banger. Yes, a true Brion classic. 22 CS lead for Gideon, this time on a Poppy. Sponge struggling to keep up with him in the laning phase. Gideon was able to get all 3 grub spawns, so 2 grubs and Rift Herald. And Sponge tried to get a gank or 2 off, but it wasn't much. But Rascal on the Gnar won them the game, taking the Nexus as everybody is dancing around the Elder. And it was just one of those situations where, wow, we have a backdoor going on. Please, Rascal, please end this game for everybody's sake. Please. And he did. So I almost made him MVP, but into Morgan, he looked washed again. So I didn't do that. Game 3, DRX had a gold lead, 2.5k roughly at 16:30. They were in control in all 4 areas, ahead in double-digit CS. Played on the Tom Kench, getting a 2v2 kill in laning phase. Morgan on the Renekton being active. He was not only getting kills and roaming, but also I think took the grubs as well. Saytab on the Akali in the mid game took over, and then Teddy finished it off on the Jinx, laying down damage, hence leading the team in damage. Thankfully, that series is over. I don't know why Brion plays this way, because it is not winning them games. It hasn't for years. And I don't know truly, like, there are poorly run organizations, like we see teams that are just poorly run. But at the same time, when I look at Brion, and I feel like people wouldn't want to say this about Bro, but they may be the worst run org when it comes to, hey, we need to probably change a thing or two in the organizational hierarchy, because the way we play is simply and has not gotten it done for a very long time. I'm trying to be very not precise, but just not say how I really, really feel about that situation. So that should kind of sum it up. T1 HLE. So T1 would win 2-0. Faker, MVP, 9-4-15, 26% of damage. Gumayushi, 5-1-13 in the 80 carry role. Viper, 10-6-6, 35% of damage in the loss. In team fights, Viper tried to 1v9, couldn't get the job done, and that's not really his fault. Laning phase, they were behind significantly. Guma Carrier got after Viper Delight in the 2v2, and, I feel like some people probably want to give Viper a pass for that, but at the same time, he has one half of that bot lane alongside Delight. T1 had a 3.2k gold lead at 16 minutes in game 1. 17 CS lead for Owner on the Nocturne as he was everywhere, and Peanut on the Poppy was nowhere. Carrier on the Ashe landed an arrow halfway across the rift. Did not give a fuck when he did it, and that is why I think Carrier is the best player in the world. Faker on the... What do I have here? What are you playing game 1? Nico was very effective. We're just going to ignore that because I can't read it from here. Viper on the Xayah, though, dealing damage, laying down damage in the team fights to give HLE a shot at all. But in the end, Zeus on the Yone, he ended up getting a solo kill on Zeka in this game. Was the one that was cleaning things up. Yone was strong today for Bro in their win, and then with T1 in theirs, both of theirs actually. Zeus was noted in both of my notes here. Game 2, T1 had a 4k gold lead at 15 minutes. 28 CS, doubled the lowest CS diff they had at 15 minutes was 16 CS in top lane. Like, Owner was ahead 23, mid was ahead 28, bot was ahead 29. Everywhere had been hit. T1 took grubs both times. They took Drakes both times. Owner on the Rel, very active. Maybe he should have been MVP. And Faker on the Orianna, dealing a ton of damage and putting his ball onto the Rel and making things happen. So, there's a blowout. That was a blowout. For a series that was supposed to be close, it was simply not the case. LEC, Heretics Vitality. Vitality win a sloppy game. Karzi, 9-3-7, 35% of damage, was MVP for ending that game. Douglas, 2-4-17 in the jungle. Kaiser, 2-4-17, led the way for Heretics on the way support, 27% of damage. That kind of sums up just how wild this game was. Heretics taking 3 grub spawns. That means they took the Rift Herald as well. Went topside 3 times to give Wonder a lead over Photon, but Photon on the Gnar closed this one out, similar to how Rascal did earlier in the day, taking the Nexus, thank the Lord. Early game, what do we have here? Early game. Somebody had a couple... Flacked on the Callista. Couple key kills in laning phase in the 2v2. Turning things around. Vethio on the Kesa mid, very effective in the very early game. Also, I do actually recall that. And Vethio on the Kesa, he definitely has the best mid Kesa, I think, out of anybody. That's East and West, at least what we've seen and the amount in which we've seen it. And then at the same time, I think he's very competitive as he could probably play 80 carry on it if he wanted to. Douglas on the Rel, good setup. Did he get caught out sometimes? Yeah, that's how Douglas is. He's a young player, but he was able to make things happen. Karzi on the Varus laying down damage, so Vitality could stay in this game because Heretics were in the catbird seat, and then Photon cleaned it up. Game 2. Actually, it's not game 2, but these are out of order. Mad Lions, Koi, and GiantX. GiantX win. They go to 3-5. Mad Lions, Koi 4-4. Otoamne 2-2-11, 28% of damage. Jackies 4-1-7 in the mid lane. Peach was my MVP for this one on the Xin Zhao. Frescowi 1-4-7, 28% of damage in the loss on the Nico. Mad Lions struggling in this one. It was back and forth, but struggling to get it done. Laning phase was close after 17 minutes. Gold Diffie was under 500. 31 CS lead in the mid lane and for Frescowie, if I recall. Um, like Mad were in a good spot. They truly were. But GiantX had a couple grubs, and then, I mean, Peach in these team fights on the Xinjiao just started racking up kills, and I'm like, geez, this might be one of Peach's best games. Mirwin on a Fiddlesticks top. This is why I mean, this kid is an excellent player. Really set up Mad Lions in that early laning phase. I mean, his ulties were awesome. I don't think GiantX were really prepared for that. And then they adjusted as the game went along and were able to offset it. Patrick on the Neela cleaning things up when push came to shove in the very late game to end it. Fnatic G2. G2 win. Hansama pentakill to finish it off. 10-3-12, 32% of damage. Caps 939 on Akali. Noah 867, 33% of damage in the loss. Another back and forth game. A lot of tight ones today. Humanoid on the Corki was the difference maker, whether Fnatic would win or lose, and that was truly the case. He would dive in, get kills, and then maybe die. Or he would dive in, not get the kills, and die, and then they lost the team fight, and G2 would take an objective. At the end of laning phase, G2 were ahead about 2.5k gold and had a 45 CS lead in the bot lane. Yes, 45 CS. That is crazy. Yike on the Xinjiao, very active. Hansama on the Varus, like I said, pentakill in the end, but was like strong. I mean, obviously was strong in the laning phase. 45 CS lead doesn't come without being a strong laner. Humanoid on the Corki, dealing damage. Caps on the Akali, 3 solo kills in the late game. I would have made him MVP, to be honest with you, because the game was close, and he was the reason they were getting picks here or there, setting up for objectives off of those and building leads or getting into good positions. But when somebody gets a penta, they automatically end up being MVP, so it goes to Hans. BB played Vladimir top as well. After that, Carmine, Corp, and SK Gaming, KC finally get a win as the top side of the rift just absolutely say, hey, we will get a win. Cabo and Bo combined for, I believe, 14 of the 18 kills or something like that. Cabo, 846, 32% of damage, MVP on the Rumble. Seiken, 009 on a Nico. And then Niski, 412, 41% of damage and a loss on a Corki. Corki struggling today in general. So KC clearly wanted to go topside. They'd go topside 5 times. SK would try and offset that, taking 3 trips topside, one of which was what set up Cabo, because Cabo outplayed a dive, got a kill, and then ended up ahead of Irrelevant after that. Doss on a Nautilus had a 2v2 kill into upset Targamas. Bo on the Xinjiao, very effective. Obviously, like I said, top side of the rift was massively in the favor of Carmine Corp. Niski on the Corki, dealing a lot of damage, keeping them in the game. However, they couldn't, they just couldn't get it done. I mean, you couldn't get on top of Upset because Upset's playing the farthest back line imaginable, and Targamas was, I believe, on a Rakan, and didn't int as much as he'd been inting in the past. Lastly, Rogue BDS. BDS win. They gave Adam Guerin. That's a recipe for a loss. That's a mistake. Rogue, once again, not as effective as you'd like in laning phase. I mean, it was close after 16 minutes, but Marcoon needs to be more active. Adam on the Garen was able to actually, I think, solo kill Marcoon at one point or get after him. Lebrav on a, was he on a Nautilus? Alistar, 2v2 kill. Comp on a Callista, kept the team in it. And then Nuke on the Orianna finished it off. Hence, Nuke 405, 37% of damage. And when I watched the game and even writing this down, it reminded me, Nuke has been one of the best mids, I believe, in the LEC the last, 6 months. You take Worlds into account, you take season finals into account, even summer, I would say, I mean, actually, was it? Yeah, 6 months. Nuke's probably, he could be the best European mid right now. I think he performs exceptionally well on these control mages, Azir, Orianna, and Syndra. And honestly, he's very effective in doing so. And I think that if he's not the best, he is definitely the most underrated player right now. A lot of people give Adam credit, of course, because of the weird champion picks. And like I was joking and saying that they won because of Garen, but I'm sure it does help him that he has a champ that he likes. Sheo, 215, Larson 523, 45% damage and a loss on a Corki. I mean, Corki just deals 40% of the team's damage and loses because, you're not landing the package properly or the team's just not fighting around it right. So, Rogue are in a must-win game tomorrow, which we'll talk about at the end of this video. But, a game that BDS needed, but at the same time, Rogue just, as the game went along, just wasn't enough. Zoli's on a blitzcrank, though. He had a lot of nice hooks in this one, for better or for worse, because the team couldn't follow up on it. I thought that, because actually they got a level 1 or very early game kill because of Zoli's. I thought his blitz was just as good as Lebrov's had been the last, couple weeks here. LCS, Dignitas 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves win. Quid on Azir, 6-4-11. 29% of damage was MVP. Isla, 4-4-17 on Senna. Tomo, 5-4-6. 27% of the loss. Tomo, 5-4-6. 27% of the loss. 27% of the team's damage. Let's look at the notes here. Yeah, so this was a close laning phase after 15 minutes, a 1K difference. River and XU kind of reading each other. River getting a couple drakes, which was massive. Rich on the Poppy, playing very strong in the early to mid game. Quid on the Azir returns that favor. Dove on the Akali had a couple kills in a key mid game team fight to kind of give. Dig were in a good spot, but Meech on the Varus started raining down some damage, and Dignitas really had no answer for it. 100 Thieves bot lane were ahead 18 CS at the end of laning phase. Dignitas top side ahead 31. I do expect Rich to be ahead of Sniper, but you'd think River on a Trundle might be ahead of XU. Wasn't the case. I'm actually happy about how 100 Thieves are playing. Young team, a lot of new parts coming together. If they can be 500 or better in spring, I'm feeling good about my Worlds predictions for them. Shopify Rebellion and Cloud9. Cloud9 losing this one, getting upset. B-Voy on the Varus was MVP. He outplayed, honestly, quite a dive in the bot lane, him and Zazel. B-Voy, 5-1-14, 36% of damage on Varus. Zazel on Melio, 2-0-17. So the bot lane went 7, 1, and 31. Yeah. And this was an interesting team composition because we saw Boogie on Lilia, which is fine, but Insanity played Scion, so they're playing weird stuff again. Shopify Rebellion, formerly known as TSM. Because of the coach. The coach plays interesting things, and honestly, that's what you need to do as a team. I say it all the time. In a matchup where there is maybe a hands diffy, interesting compositions can close that. Not to mention 14-2, so live patch. They are not playing on 14-1. It offers different things. JoJo played Vayne, went 3-3-2, 33% of damage into the Scion, and of course, laning phase went in his favor, 37 CS. That was what was keeping Cloud9 in it. But as the team fights transpired, they simply could not kill the Maokai. Not the Maokai, the Scion. And B-Voy was just laying down damage. And it was like Cloud9 had no answer, like they were helpless. It was just a matter of how long will it take for Shopify to end. NRG FlyQuest. This was a train wreck for FlyQuest. Bwipo played Darius top. That's not why they lost, but it's just an interesting pick nonetheless. NRG just completely ran him over. I have a 53 CS lead for the bot lane of NRG. They went bot lane, I believe, 5 times. Fly went bot lane twice. And there were trades of kills early on when it was back and forth, like, hey, we'll dive, you'll dive, okay, trading 1-for-1, 2-for-1, shit like that. But energy just simply didn't stop, and FlyQuest were just drowned by the pressure from contracts. Contracts and Huhi were all over the place. Huhi ends up being MVP for me on the rel. FBI 7-11, 39% of damage. Contracts 2-1-17 on an Ivern. Masu 4-6-2, 28% of damage in the loss. I mean, FBI and the Callista, significant. Masu on the Varus found ways to return kills. Busu on Renata found ways to return the kills. But the pressure just never ended. Inspired went down there trying to help. Didn't work. Bwippo tried to go down there. It didn't help. I think even Jensen took a trip down there. I mean, it was a disaster. At the end of laning phase, a 4K gold lead for NRG. I mean, 34 CS lead in the jungle. Contracts on an Ivern over a Sejuani for Inspired. I mean, Jensen had a 35 CS lead in mid, but couldn't do anything with it. This was one of the bigger blowouts we've seen so far this year. I picked NRG to win, but I didn't think they'd win in quite a fashion. Team Liquid and Immortals. TL were up 2K gold at the end of laning phase. In this one, it was a struggle to end, but they did find a way. Yeon 5-1-5, 29% of damage. Umpty 1-11 on Maokai. Mask 2-2-7, 35% of damage on Azir. So clearly, Immortals wanted to go after APA in mid. Armeo going to mid in the laning phase, but Impact was there to save the day. You could argue Impact should probably be MVP. And I didn't mark one down, so I'm doing it right now. Impact was MVP. So he went mid, helped APA out, and then there was another time, actually, where he showed up out of the blue on the Udyr to save the day for Team Liquid in the early to mid game. And that kept them in a good position. In doing so, he was down 24 CS to Castle, who solo killed him, so that's something to note. Impact being MVP, yet being solo killed by a rookie. APA and the Tristana dealing a lot of damage in the mid game. Yeon ending it with the Lucian. Tactical on Ezreal did return the favor for Immortals. Like I said, the game wasn't a clean end for Team Liquid. There was some pushback, and they finally choked them out to end it. Sneak peek for tomorrow. LPL, Team World Elite versus FPX. We 1-1 as our FPX. FPX beat OMG. Team We beat Anyone's Legend. Last time they played, FPX won 2-0. 4 of the 10 starters are the same. Care went 5-3-22. 30% of damage in the win. After that, BLG Anyone's Legend. BLG 2-0 coming off of a win against RNG. Anyone's Legend 1-1 coming off of a loss to Team We. Last time they played, BLG won 2-1. 4 of the 10 starters remain. They're all from BLG. Elk went 8-7-22, 32% of damage in the win. Now I'm going to move a bit. LEC, so GiantX Rogue. This game obviously matters more than any of them. Winner goes to, the group stage. Loser goes home. Keep in mind, both teams that did not get to groups in winter, Fnatic and XL last year, were at season finals as top 6 teams. So do not write off Carmine, Corp, and whoever loses this game. I think that'd be foolish based on what the 1 year of history tells us. These teams have never played. Sisgenda and Comp, so this is when Koi played XL last year. Sisgenda Comp 9-5-10, 64% of damage. Otawamne and Patrick 9-5-9, 55% of damage and a loss. BDS Carmine Corp. Obviously they've played in LFL, but I don't care. So, comparing the last time players crossed paths, the most recent one was the support matchup in LEC spring of last year. Targamas would go 2-2-6, 8% of damage in a win on Karma for XL. And Lebrav 1-1-13, 20% of damage in the loss on Lux. And that might have been XL's only win of spring. Fnatic went 1-8. I don't know if XL did. Fnatic Team Heretics, last time they played, Fnatic won 3-1. 6 of the 10 starters are the same. Razork and Noah went 24, 12, 65, 41% of damage in the win. Yankos Flacked would go 16, 24, 35, 45% of damage in a loss. G2SK. Last time they played, G2 would win. 8 of the 10 starters are the same. Broken Blade and then the bot lane duo would go 8, 7, 16, 52% of damage. Irrelevant and bot lane duo would go 7, 6, 18, 55% of damage in a loss. And finally, Mad Lions Koi Vitality. They've never played, and actually players crossing paths in a major region level is not a thing because we have 4 players for Mad Lions Koi that are rookies, and Vitality has a rookie jungler. So, the last time Mad Lions played Vitality, Elyoya won for Mad Lions, going 2-2-7, 12% of damage. So, I think that game matters. And these two might, because G2, let's see. Yeah, G2 are 1 game back of BDS. I don't know if they get 1 seed if they, I don't know if that matters, really. Because isn't it random draw, first and second get groups, and then it's random? I don't really pay too much attention to the draws and things like that. I know there's going to be people making reaction videos, and I am not the type. So, what the schedule says is what it says when push comes to shove. So, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Become a YouTube supporter. And I hope to see you again tomorrow.